What's up, Southside Youth? It's Pastor Dalton here at the Redstone campus. Hey, I hope you're having a great small group at the Commerce or the Redstone campus today. Hope you've had a great time eating some food, hanging out with some people. But yes, today we're going to be back in our Beatitudes series, and I'm really excited. But before we jump into it, I would love to tell you a story. So as a student, as a young kid, a teenager, I was in the Boy Scouts. And one of my favorite things about the Boy Scouts was going out in the woods. And even though I'm not a woodsy kind of person now, I like cabins and air conditioning and things like that. As a teenager, I absolutely loved going in the woods and going camping. Maybe Boy Scouts got me tired of that, but either way, I digress. I loved the woods. And part of loving the woods was going on hiking trips and going out on top of these mountains and just seeing these beautiful rivers and creeks that would just be in the middle of nowhere. And I remember this one time I was really thirsty. We'd been on a massive hike. I don't even remember how many miles it was, but I would like to think it was like 800, but really it was probably like 5. But in that time, I remember running out of my water just because of how muggy and hot it was that day, and I saw a creek. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could try drinking out of that. Now, as a Boy Scout, we were taught kind of what's good and what's bad not to do. And at the same time, I was so thirsty. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it anyways. So I remember putting my water bottle in the water and then taking a look at the water. And there was so many floating things in it. I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have drank it, but I did anyways. But in the midst of that, I just remember the difficulty of what it takes to take murky, nasty water and make it pure. And in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about this idea of purity. How do we take something that's murky and messy, especially spiritually, our lives? How do we go from murky and messy to something pure? Check this out. This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. It says this: "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." For our lives, how do we see us go from sinfulness and murkiness and to go to purity, to go to a state of pureness in our lives? Just like the water that I told you about, our lives are filled with gunk. And we're filled with things that, to be honest, are really messy, and they don't at all honor God. If anything, we have unrighteousness in us that when people see us, and more importantly, when God looks at us, we have sin in our lives, and it's very messy and murky. So how do we deal with that? Now, if I was a Boy Scout and I wanted to clear out the water in my cup, there's several ways I could do it. I could take fire and I could boil it. That might help. I could run it through different filters, and that might also help. But in our faith, there's only one way the Bible tells us to have a pure heart, and that's to have a proper relationship with God through the Son. You see, Jesus died for our sins, and because of that death, and not only death, but his resurrection, because of his death, burial, and resurrection, we can have a pure life. And the Bible points to this point, and I love this: a relationship with Jesus makes us pure in the eyes of the Lord. Therefore, just as this verse says, we will start to see God moving in our lives when we have a relationship with him. When we have a relationship with God, it's almost as if we are water in my water bottle and we're getting sifted and purified. And in this moment, I want to challenge you today. Where are you at in your relationship with God? Because here's the thing I know. There may be multiple ways to purify water. There is only one way to purify your soul. Do you have a relationship with Jesus today? Do you have a relationship with God through his Son today? Today, we're going to be studying more of this idea of purity and what that looks like in your own life, and how purity can challenge us to see God in our day-to-day lives. I hope you enjoy this study. I'm excited to hear what God does in this study. I love you guys. I can't wait to see you here next week at Southside Youth. See you later. Bye.